Let's now move on to other global news stories. A Hong Kong court has found 3 prominent pro-democracy activists guilty of taking part in a vigil marking the Tiananmen Square massacre. This includes media mogul Jimmy Lai and activists Gwyneth Ho and Chow Hang-tung, who have all been convicted for inciting and taking part in an unauthorized assembly on June 4th last year. They were among thousands who defied a ban and took part in a vigil commemorating the 1989 crackdown at Beijing's Tiananmen Square. More than 24 politicians and activists have been charged over the same. The verdict for the trio comes now as they had contested their charges, arguing that they had not incited others to join the rally. However, their arguments were dismissed by the judge, saying that their participation was an act of defiance. They will now be sentenced on December 13th and will face a maximum of 5 years in prison for these charges. 16 other activists are already serving sentences of between 4 and 10 months for the same incident after mass pro-democracy protests that were witnessed in 2019. China had earlier imposed a sweeping national security law that criminalized any form of dissent and eroded the city-state's freedoms. Earlier in the day, I spoke to our correspondent Richard Kimber from Hong Kong about the legal remedies that may be available to all the convicted activists. Listen in to his inputs.
Yes, as you mentioned, this has been a widespread crackdown by police on this vigil that used to be an annual tradition in Hong Kong to commemorate the victims of the 1989 crackdown on protests in Beijing's Tiananmen Square. That's been going for years here, but just for the last couple of years, police have banned all forms of commemorative gatherings at that time of year, citing COVID-19 as the reason. Activists have always said that they think the police are using that as an excuse, and they've tried to hold vigils anyway, just as they did last year. Now, 3 of the main organisers of that vigil, Chow Hang-tung of the alliance that used to organise that vigil every year, Jimmy Lai, as you mentioned, the well-known democracy activist and media mogul, and a former journalist, Gwyneth Ho. They all tried to contest charges that they were trying to incite the public to join the commemoration, despite the fact that they knew, and everybody knew, that it had not been given police authority. The judge said that there was ample evidence to suggest that they were trying to get people to come along, including the fact that she said they turned up in person and were rallying people as people walked past the main park in Hong Kong where people tend to gather, and she pointed to social media posts that Chow Hang-tung, one of the organisers, had made that she said was evidence that she'd been inciting people to gather. So she threw out their defence, and all 3, as you say, due to be sentenced in the next 10 days as we wait to find out exactly how much more of a jail sentence people like Jimmy Lai will now face. He's already, of course, in the middle of a 20-month sentence over other protest charges.
WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.